Hello, dear folks. Welcome to Season 5 of On the Call series produced by the Stars Among Us. I'm Ozzy, as you know. And I'm very happy that you've tuned into this thank you tour of mine, as each episode is a thank you card to those who have impacted my life. And on this 12th and closing episode of Season 5, I'm shining light on Mr. Gene Graham. Hello, Gene.
Hello, Ozzy.
Hello, my dear. Before we get into it with Gene, I'm going to intro Gene. There's a lot to listen to, folks, so just gear up. Gene is an award-winning filmmaker based in Brooklyn. And after he got his Bachelor of Science in Advertising and Marketing Communications with a GPA of 3.6, folks, at FIT, Activities and Societies Presidential Scholar, right? He landed his first agency position at Alphamedica, a small pharma shop in Tarrytown, New York, as in-house video editor producer. But Gene was doing a lot of things under that particular little label there. It was a little label for a lot of stuff that was happening. For instance, he was involved in producing patient and HCP interviews, testimonials, sourcing crew, locations, travel, editing, finishing videos for all screens, digital, social, live events, working closely with marketing and writing teams, creating winning sizzle reels and manifesto videos quickly for business development. And then in 2010, and there's more to come, but in 2010, he began freelancing, first at Razorfish, then 360i, and a number of large digital, traditional, and communication firms within the New York agency universe. As a director, producer, editor, and camera operator with 15 years of indie film, he has worked with Ford, Mercedes Benz, Oreo Cookie, Celebrity Cruises, Unilever, Pfizer, the Medicines Company, Warner Brothers, Macy's, Ralph Lauren, HBO, In-Demand, Showtime, the Biden-Harris campaign, the 2020 Pulitzer Prize Announcement, a tribute to Essential Who's Who, and the Educated Writers Association. This guy has done a lot, and it tells with the work that he has created as a filmmaker. Most recently, his documentary, This One's for the Ladies, Roller Coaster Ride, that won a special jury award for Best Cast at the
South by Southwest.
That's it. And was acquired for worldwide distribution by Neon and released theatrically across the US in 2019. And the story about that is male strippers and the women who love them and therefore patronize them, right?
Yep.
The next deal is The Godfather of Disco, which he won a jury and audience awards for Best Documentary at the Fire Island Film and Video Festival. He received an Emerging Filmmaker Award for Godfather Minneapolis St. Paul International Film Festival. I'm all in your business, honey. All in your business.
See.
It was fun. 2006, he edited and associate produced Dirty Laundry, which won the Audience Award for Best US Feature and Best Performance by an Actor, none other than Miss Loretta Devine at the American Black Film Festival, distributed by Lionsgate. And so now we're going to move forward to 2021. Jack on the Come Up. I'm so happy to be a part of that project because it really showed to me his expertise in imagery, in storytelling, even without words. A fine piece of work, which is now on the circuit, folks. So check it out. Heading to the Roxbury on June 24th screening?
Yeah.
Right. And he's now gearing up this year for another project, which I won't talk about. I let him speak about if he wants to. In terms of This One for the Ladies, people have said things like, it's unlikely to find a more genuinely joyful film. As Rolling Stone commented, the sexiest documentary of the summer. It feels like Paris is Burning of underground male strippers. Best documentary, The Godfather of Disco. Let's get into it with some questions. Hello, Gene. Is there anything in there that I have said incorrectly you'd like to change, add to, or let me know?
No, I don't think I've ever heard the list like that. So I always thank you. I never really think about all that stuff. But yeah, I guess I've been around a little while, done a few things, you know.
Yes, you have.
It never seems like it's, it's the reality. I'm always trying to keep pushing it. You know what I mean? So it's wonderful. I love This One's for the Ladies. I love a lot of the work that I've done, but I'm always looking forward, trying to do the next thing. Yeah, that was one of the wonderful things about working on Jack on the Come Up was it's a new experience and working with actors and stuff like that and trying to push it and see how to tell a story. It's a little different than anything that I've done in the past. Just a wonderful experience. Just trying to move into the narrative field is from documentary. Let's see what happens.
Right. So let me ask you, with all that you've done, because technologically you're very refined in terms of the technique, your storytelling, your words, what you'd like to have, having been in front of you and being directed, you know exactly what you want to see, even though you give people leeway to add to the story, right?
Try, yeah.
Yeah, well, that has been my experience. Did you have any mentors? Is this something that you always wanted to do as a child? Because you do it so well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's funny. I think I was in third grade or something like that, or fourth grade, and I did direct a play or direct some sort of kids thing that seemed to go over well with the kids. They seemed to like it. But then I actually didn't pursue that so much. I was actually more into music, like a kid, you know what I mean? And producing, even though I didn't pick up an instrument, I think that was kind of a mistake if I was really dedicated to that. But I spent a long time pursuing that. Like, I think I have an ear. I didn't have the technique. I didn't have I just couldn't play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Eventually, somewhere along the way, I just said, I've got to give this up and move on with my life. That happened in the 90s or something like that. And I was in Miami at the time. When I said that, when I kind of let go of the dream of being I love Nile Rodgers and I love Chic and I love producers, I like Janet Jackson, but I really love Jam and Lewis, the people who made her music. Mm-hmm. So worked with her to make those great records. So when I said no more to that and let it go, within a couple of years, doors opened now. And I can't really say that that was real, it happened immediately, but opportunities came my way. And one of them was moving up to New York City and basically learning how to become an editor. And the thing that I said when that happened, when it became apparent, Apple gave me a loan to buy one of their computers. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure that they would do that. And I started learning Final Cut Pro. And the difference here was that when I had the dream, I said I'd better learn some fundamental basics about how to do something. Mm-hmm. How to edit. I didn't do that with the music. Not only was the opportunity presenting itself because I had kind of let something go, but I also learned something from that experience, which is you actually kind of have to know some things about what you want for your dream. Does that make it? Yeah. It's very rare, I think, for people to just pop out of the womb and be Picasso or be Steven Spielberg or Beyonce. I mean, even if you think of somebody like Beyonce, she is working around the clock on her dance moves and on her singing and all this sort of stuff. I mean, she's been doing it since she was a child. Yeah. So when we see her, she's flawless. A lot of hard work along with the talent. When I started editing, which is the way that I've gotten into filmmaking, I invested in learning how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so my thought was, if I have the computer, if you can edit at home, I may not be good in the first year or two, but I'll get better. If I just keep at it, I'll get better. I'll learn more. I'll get better. And that's actually what happened.
What is your process in deciding which project you're going to tackle or write or film? Where do you get from project A to project B? Is it something that has been in your mind back then or something that you just thought of while you're doing another project? You know what I mean? Or somebody said, hey, what about?
Well, I definitely want to move into narrative filmmaking. And so there's a couple of things. There's definitely a creative thing, just to kind of keep leveling up, keep exploring and stuff. And this is also one of the things I love about editing is that no matter what material comes across the table, whether it's a client advertising thing or whether it's my own project, I feel like I'm always learning, how can I cut, not necessarily faster, but what can I do to make the communication for the audience, they receive it, feel a certain way. That's always a learning experience for me. That's why I keep coming back to it. So there's a creative thing going all together. And then the other part is also kind of a financial thing. And I think narrative filmmakers have more opportunities than documentary filmmakers. The funding for documentary filmmakers is horrible in this country. It's horrible. And the topics that I choose don't necessarily seem to be topics that granting organizations are in a rush to fund. So no one was going to fund strippers, even though I knew that the things that I wanted to explore, which was race and class and family, and looking at lower income Black folks, that world, that life experience, that going through the stripper world and going through the women specifically in that stripper world, I was going to eventually get to the conversations about family. And everything like that. So like, I knew that was a way in. Funders weren't buying that. So it's really tough to do that. So with narrative, with fiction, in a sense, I get to create the world. So I'm not saying that you get the funding easier, but just right now, it just feels like something that's exciting. And I'm always looking for ways to tell a story, I think probably about race and class and income, and about us, about people. How do we treat each other? And what are the consequences? You put something up on your Instagram that I thought was really, really smart, which is, I'm going to get this wrong, but people make choices, but there's a consequence for those choices. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very, very much into exploring those things. And whether that's through the horror genre, which is what we're working on now, or through grief, because I think even on Jack on the Come Up, one of the things that we talked about that I thought was really important was the lead character's autonomy, that she took it upon herself that even in her grief, she wanted to figure out what to do and how to move forward. She wouldn't have gone to see a therapist if she didn't feel like she needed help, and that it was important to go and find the help and stuff like that. So now we don't discuss that in the we don't have that explicit conversation in the movie, but we just see that this woman is doing that. So things like that are really, really kind of interesting to me.
What inspires you? Like, what inspires you to create? I mean, you just spoke about the things that you really want to do, right? But on another level, what inspires you? What keeps you up creating?
That's a really good question. Well, I think we don't have certain kinds of conversations, especially like in our country, in America. And I just want to make sure that certain ideas and certain perspectives are heard. And so, unfortunately, my creativity is probably based in politics. And that could be funny, that can be horror, that can be a whole range of things. That's the wonderful thing about creativity and about writing and about storytelling and movies and music, like all of that stuff. You can really talk about things that are important to you using a whole host of things, platforms. I just really feel strongly about the way people are treated in this country and our inability to have real conversations about that, and certainly how that lack of conversation and honesty leads to really bad outcomes for all people from all walks of life. I feel like anything that I do creatively, I would be doing a disservice if I did a rom-com, and nothing against rom-coms, but with no grounding in reality. There's way too much going on these days to just sit back and be like, twiddle the thumbs and stuff. So I guess probably there's just this compelling thing to help people look at ourselves, because if we can't do that, we're in deep trouble.
Look at where we are now, right?
Exactly.
What is the joy of your job? Whether you're editing, what is that joy that you get from editing, or you're behind the camera? What is that joy that you receive or feel when you're on set? What's that thing?
It was wonderful working with you when we were walking through Central Park. And it was wonderful working with you when we were in the therapist office, and working together to try and hit notes and things like that. You know what I mean? Hit certain notes and stuff like that. And kind of stepping back at the end of the day like that, I think we nailed it. Like, that's wonderful. And certainly, of course, when I'm sitting here and I'm editing things like that together and I see it come together, I'm just like, wow, this is great. This really is working. And I think one of the high points, like with This One's for the Ladies, we were screening at Rooftop Films. It was kind of chaotic, but we also had like a ton of people. We had like, I don't know, like 400 or 500 people showed up for this screen. It was great. It was wonderful. And it was a suggestion to kind of rejudge the opening sequence. And there were some notes that came through, but it wasn't necessarily put together. Like the notes were okay, but the way that it was put together, it pointed the way, but it was not like in my style. Right. In the style of the movie. Right. So I took that opening sequence. I mean, I edited This One's for the Ladies, but I took that opening sequence and I took those notes and I did it my way in a sense, and like lifted it, you know. I lifted it. And to hear 500 people, 400 or 500 people laughing at each point that I put in that thing, I have to say that was like a minute, it's like a 2 minute, a minute and a half, 2 minute opening sequence to kind of like get you into the movie. Everybody got every beat in that sequence. And I was like, yes. So do you have any pet peeves? No, I'm pretty easygoing. I don't know if I want to make any sandwiches anymore on Friday. I think I would like to graduate from that part of the filmmaking process. I don't know. I think I'm pretty easygoing. Pet peeves. Wow, that is a good one. I tend to roll with it. So I would say things like, I feel like I'm pretty good at preparation. If we get there on set and things don't necessarily go a certain way and you know, maybe people get a little tense and maybe that might be uncomfortable. You know what? As long as I keep my side of the street, I'm good. If somebody wants to act out and do all the different things or feel people getting their feelings and there's too much going on. Life keeps moving on and there's no time for that. So now looking forward, what are you looking to achieve? Where are you looking to go or be? Like you've done the Jack last year, you're doing this other one this year. Let's look at another, not even 5 years, another 3 years. What do you want to achieve? My hope is, and what we're working for, is to turn the short movie that you and I are involved in, this new one, to turn that into a feature, you know, to get the money, to have somebody really write a check for that and do the feature. And see where that goes. It's Born Again Reject is a big idea for me. So I'm thinking about franchises, like a franchise and sequels and things like that. I feel like this is a project that could potentially have those things. So it would be a big, and I mean, look, even getting funding for a feature would be a major step forward. And that would be great. If it went on to even do more than that, that'd just be amazing. I have a script that's kind of a takeoff. I mean, it's in the same vein as Jack on the Come Up a little bit. I think that's also in keeping with This One's for the Ladies. So there's definitely some women projects, I think, that I have that I would love to do. Kind of more of a traditional drama than like a horror movie or, you know, whatever. Good, I see a space for me, maybe. Absolutely. No. I'd love to do that. It's funny. I picked up this script. It's called Sean Coleman. I wrote it a couple of years ago, and I picked it up again. And as we were working on Jack, and I thought to myself as I was reading it, now versus 10 years ago, I'm looking at things a lot differently. And I see like, oh, wow, there's a lot going on in this script. I think I'm going to have to think about this for a moment, how I can rejudge. And there's just a different perspective today than I had back then. But there's going to come a moment where I'm going to be able to do that. So it's definitely filmmaking. The goal and where I want to do in the next 3 years is to be making movies, directing television, whatever. I want to level up to that next whatever and have that be kind of like the full-time thing. Right. How has COVID affected you, if any, positively or negatively, these last crazy years? Well, COVID was kind of a source for the horror short, seeing people pass away as a result of that, and then family members and stuff like that not being able to have proper funerals and put them in a burial space that is good with the family, whatever. Seeing that is kind of a part of the core idea behind Born Again Reject. I hate to say this, I'm a little bit of a loner. So being in isolation wasn't a killer for me all that much. I mean, I'm
same for me.
While I got sick of the masks aren't great. I think what it did was I don't know, maybe it made me a little even more empathetic about loss and about time. They're just also getting older. That could also be a thing. And the idea that maybe we lost 2 years, I didn't personally lose anybody to COVID, though me and my partner, we knew a number of people who did pass away because of COVID. But just before COVID, in the years leading up to COVID, a couple of key family members have passed away. Like my father passed away, and my uncle passed away, and my 100-year-old grandmother have to deal with seeing 2 of her 3 sons pass away. So I had a lot of family things going on before COVID kicked. Right. Which kind of had me thinking about stuff, family, death, and living. What are we doing, while we have the time to hear? The pandemic also just gave me some freedom. I mean, I was working on a project up on the Upper East Side. I don't think if I didn't have that opportunity to go up to the Upper East Side, that's what I mean, like time-wise, have the opportunity to go hang out and not feel pressured financially, work on this project. I don't think that I would have been riding through Central Park. All of these ideas ended up in Jack on the Come Up. So I guess that's kind of a tough question. I don't look back. Does that?
That's good.
I'm really not one to look back and think too hard about the past. And my hope, of course, is that whatever is happening in the present impacts me in what it is that I'm going to do in the future. How is that going to come? What's going on today? And how is that going to come out in something that I can share with people?
Right. Well, it was very important for me to have you on my little chat show.
Pleasure.
Thank you. It was really a treasure working with you. A treasure and a pleasure working with you. We had a conversation. I had lost a lot of friends, not due to COVID, around this time of August to November, right? I was losing almost one person a month. And to get out of that space and be in front of the camera, to go through the storyline while I'm in that space was a very tricky thing for me, but it was a very rewarding thing for me that I could do it. I thought initially learning of the storyline that I wouldn't be able to do because it would be too impactful on my heart based on all the losses that I was incurring. But the way that you maneuvered everything, the way that you allowed me space to breathe, the way that you were pretty precise as to what you wanted, which was good, so I can follow and yet help fill, was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And at that time, I did not know that much about you. There was something about you that was very appealing when we first sat at Times Square and you explained the project. Very appealing. So I needed to have you because you were impactful to me. And I wanted to thank you in this particular way. Yeah, I could have sent you a card. That would have been easy. But this, for me, is a living thing. This is something I leave behind should something happen. You know what I mean? It's just something that I could think of, hey, let me listen to Jean's voice again. I can go in and listen to Jean's voice. And maybe Jean might want us to listen to what we've spoken about at some point in the future. And here it is. It's a living card and a thank you card. And I really, really appreciate your time. And before we say goodbye, I want to say to my audience, thank you very, very much for your valuable time with us today. This is Jean Graham. Please care to share and remember, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street safely. Be health conscious and kind to one another. And don't forget the little things, the little gifts, as well as the big, but the little gifts. Jean, thank you so much for this precious time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ozzy, for having me. My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. Please help us in our mission to support those facing fatal diseases through our t-shirt sales by donating or shopping at OzzyStewart.com or supporting us at anchor.fm/OzzyStewart. That's anchor.fm/OzzyStewart. And don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel at Ozzy Stewart. Yep. Leave a comment.